everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we've got one of my favorite leaders that came out this year. It's the Series 10 starter deck, the Green Frieza, that has kind of its own little cool hand destruction archetype. I really like this leader. I've been trying to get him to be kind of good and competitive for a really long time. And I think this list that I have today is probably my best bet at it, and it has a lot of cool things going for it. This is a bit of an expensive deck, especially because it has a bunch of the green cards in it, and but I will have some budget alternatives for it. But in general, it's really cool, and I think definitely the new draft box that came out had a lot of cool new toys for this deck that I really appreciated. So going into it first, so permanent, you can't include Saiyan cards in your deck. Really tough, really limiting the cards you can put into this deck, just because there's so many good Saiyans, and a lot of the good utility cards in this deck, or in this game in general, just are Saiyans. So it kind of sucks to have that, but I think we can survive without it. And then auto choose one Frieza army card in your battle area, place it in its owner's drop area. When this card attacks a leader card, opponent chooses one card in their hand, discards it, and then add up to one card from your life to your hand. So you're able to make your opponent discard self-awaken, which is really good. Having to pop one of your guys is kind of rough at times, but it's not terrible. And there's, especially, you'll see later how easy it is to do that. And then awaken, it's an untap one, draw one on the at 4 or less life. And then Last Resort Frieza, when this card attacks, draw one. Activate once per turn, you can choose one Frieza army card in your battle area, place it in its owner's drop area, choose one card in your opponent's hand, discard it, then choose one of your green unison cards. It gets critical for the duration of the turn. So being able to choose the card is better than letting your opponent choose which card they're discarding. And then just a solid card in general. Like, it's a good leader. Like, there's a lot of value you can get by himself, and like a lot of pressure you can on kind of hand destruction. So that's that. And so we're also running, this is going to be the pod variant, which you kind of have, like, the only thing about this leader in general is that it takes like 1 or 2 turns to set up, and you kind of have to see your pieces. But pod is definitely a great card for this deck. You just draw so much. There's so much availability to draw cards from this, and it's very good. You want to see this turn 1, turn 2, and just go from there. So if you're able to see it before turn 2, you're doing really good. And I think there's like a lot of ways to get it into your hand and some other stuff. So I think it's good. And we'll go from there. So unisons, normally I think what the biggest problem with this deck from when it first released is that there weren't any really good unisons that kind of drove what it was trying to do. And just because like you're not able to, like, the unison that came with this deck is a turn 2 unison, and spending 2 whole energy to do what you're wanting to do is just too steep for how much setup. If you're playing the pod variant, having to spend 2 energy on your unison is too much. Having to spend 3 energy to set up your stuff to start gaining value is too slow, and so having a 1-drop unison is really what you want to do. And in the new draft box, we got 2 new 1-drop unisons that really fit this archetype. We've got Hirudegarn Giant Force and Bio Broly Giant Force. I decided to go with a 4-7 or 4-3 split, but I think running 7 1-drops is fine. So if you like Bio Broly more, go for it. But I think this is just a really good core, and it just means like you're going to see a unison turn 1 almost every game, which is important for this deck. Like, that's something I didn't really have with, I play like maybe Demigur unison or something. Just, you want to be able to see these as soon as possible, and I think both these guys are good for what they do. So Hirudegarn, which is the one I put 4 of, it has a permanent. You can't attack if this has 3 or fewer tokens on it, and then auto choose 1 card in your hand, discard it. When your opponent combos, place it to 1 card from their drop area, combo area into their owner's drop area, and then negate the skill for the turn. So just being able to go 1 for 1, and this also can defend himself. So if they're trying to combo over to kill Hirudegarn, you can just discard a card when they're comboing. Even you don't have to be in your combo phase for it. It's just an auto that triggers when your opponent combos. So that's some like kind of nice protection there. And then Bio Broly Giant Force, you choose 1 card in your hand, discard it. This card is placed in its owner's drop area from a unison area during your opponent's turn. Play it from your drop area with 1 marker on it. You can't play copies of this card for the turn. And then also has a +1 active main. Both these effects, you can see like they're able to discard cards, which we'll see from your hand, which is going to be important later. But also their pluses effect. So Hirudegarn has a +2. Choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. So just you have to go -1 in hand, but getting 2 tokens on this guy is usually worth it. And then Bio Broly, +1. You may choose 1 card in your hand, discard it. If you do, draw 1 card. And lastly, this is a 15k and Bio Broly is 9k. So that's part of the reason I put Hirudegarn as 4 of, is just because this guy is easier to survive with. And like if you put Bio Broly out turn 1, there's a good chance that your opponent's just going to kill it, which sucks. So I felt like Hirudegarn was more important. It just lived more in the game. And Bio Broly is so nice, and he's definitely a really good finisher because he has a -4 of choose 2 cards in your opponent's hand, discard them, then this card gets +16k power and dual attack for the turn. So for 5 energy, you can just hard cast this Bio Broly, and then if you use your leader to give it crit, now you have a 25k dual attack crit that also makes your opponent discard 2 cards. And it's also on a unison, which means it's harder to interact with. I think it's just a really good card. Like it just works for this deck, and that's why I'm running 3 of these. You want him as a finisher, but Huragarn is definitely what what you really want turn 1 or turn 2 for this deck. So those are unisons. Both these came out of the draft box, and I think both these are what really reinvigorate the whole archetype in general. So going into our 1-drops, we've got 4 of the Sidoriya. You need this card for a very important. Just has this broken auto of if your leader card is a Green Frieza card, and you have a Green Unison card in play, if this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, you may play this card from your drop area. So just being able to you can use Bio Broly, you can use this +1. You draw a card, and then you play this. Boom, you draw, and then you get this for free. So technically, you just drew a card for free because you didn't have to when you discard this, it just played itself for free, which is really good. And if you have Pod out, then you just drew 2 cards for 0 energy, and you played a body on the board, right? So that's just kind of like the basis for it. Even with Huragarn, adding 2 tokens to it and then just playing Dodoria from your hand, you didn't really lose anything, right? And then you still draw a card if you had Frieza Healing Pod out. And that's like the basis of this whole deck. Dodoria is really, really, really important, and he's kind of what cements that whole value you get for him. And then also, late game, activate for just 1 green. If your other card's a Green Frieza card, and this card's in your, and you have a Green Unison card in play, add this card from your drop area to your hand. So just being able to draw cards for 1 energy for free is good. It's this game, since it's so much card advantage and everything is just everything's a combo card. Just being able to generate card advantage for free is really, really nice. Not free, but cheap. Then we also have 4 of the Zarbon from the star deck as well. So it has looks at top 5 for a Green Unison card at a specific cost of 2, which these are both ones. But also just a Frieza Army card with an energy cost of 4 or less and add to your hand. So it's just really good for funding itself. Most of our cards are Frieza's Army, so we'll keep going into it. It also has an active battle for 1 green. If your leader is a Green Frieza card and you have a Green Unison in play, you can choose one card. Choose one of your leader or unison cards, and it gets plus 10k power for the battle. So it's really good for defense. If your opponent doesn't know this is in your drop area or they're not paying attention to it, it could just be a big surprise and some extra combo power late in the game as well. We also have 4 of the Dodoria. This is just the Kaba being able, when it swings, it becomes if you take a life, you become a 10k and double strike. This is just for some emergency self-awakening possibilities. And really good at killing early game unisons. If your opponent has a unison you want to get rid of, just being able to play 1 and do a 15k double strike is good. Just having double strike in this deck is good, and it's the Frieza's Army, so you're not losing any synergy for it. Just a quick pick there. And then also we have 4 of the Ginyu, Captain of the Elite. This card's really good. It's one of our only it's our only hard negate in the deck, but it's a counterattack, negate the attack, and play this card. Permanent during your opponent's turn. If you have a Green Unison card, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. And when this card is played, add to 1 Green Frieza Army card with 9k power or less from your drop area to your hand. Then if you did, choose 1 card in your hand, discard it. So what you're able to do is if this is in your drop area, you can use Ginyu, negate the attack, add this card to your hand, then choose a card in your hand. Oh, you have this in your hand? Cool, you discard it. Plays itself, and then if you have Frieza Healing Pod out, you also get a drop card. So for 1 energy, you get to play this guy for free and draw a card. So it's just a whole bunch of advantage that you're able to generate on being able also to it punishes your opponent really hard for swinging, and it's just a good defense as well. So I really it's a cute little combo and just really helps you out. Or if there's another card you need in your hand, it has to be 9k or less. So if you need the double striker for next turn to potentially win the game or something like that, that's something else you can add to it. But it's just a really nice. It's a good card. You need 4 of those. Next up, we also have Zarbon, Cosmic Elite. This is just a really good card because it generates itself for free anyways. Because you're able to just for 1 green, choose 1 green card in your hand, discard it, play this card from your drop area. So if you don't want to use your Dodoria stuff, just being able to do this and get your card advantage, and then he also has this really good effect of if your opponent has 5 or more cards in your hand, when this card is removed from the battle area by a skill or KO'd, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and discards it. So if you use your Frieza ability to swing and then you pop your Zarbon, you make them discard 2 as long as they have 5 or more cards in hand when Zarbon's effect goes off. So that's really nice. And he's a blocker too, and then you can do defensive stuff. He's just a good card. and like he also discards a card, so you can discard Dodoria, play him for free. You still get the draw from pod anyways, but like if you just need to like generate more free advantage, Zarbon can definitely do that. And then that's like most of the little guys we have, and then we have 4 Friezas. Counterplays, why not? It's just a good card. It's also Frieza's army, so if we want to pop it with our leader ability to give crit or drop cards, he can just work for it, and he's just good. You can't find him with 1-drop Zarbon, but he's just too good of a card to not get. We have 4 Rebrians because I own 4. If you have 2, I think this is the minimum that you should do for this deck. If you want to play hand and control, you have to have some Rebrians. So I'd say if you have 2, you're fine. 4 is obviously the ones you want, but it's just you can do 2 and then just fill up with other cards, but it's just really, really nice. Also 2 Roshis. You can maybe go up to 3 if you want, especially if you're missing out on a Rebrian or 2, you can definitely add a Roshi in its place. But just obviously a good card. People wanted this banned, but it didn't get banned, which I'm super happy with. But this core I'm happy with. But all these are good, and these are just cards that have value in your drop area. So if you don't have Dodorias in your hand and you just need to like discard stuff for Bio Broly or anything else, these are just good cards to really get in there. And then we also have for our super combos, we have 3 Android 18 and 1 Dr. Gero. Dr. Gero just helps us get the card we want out on the board and are into your drop area. So if you need to find like a Rebriand, if you need to get a Master Roshi so we get like spoilers, a Dorm Potential back into your hand or something like that, it's just very versatile and helps us find the card we need. And then Android 18 is just card destruction as well. If you're only running like 2 Rebriands, you could do 2 Geros and 2 Android 18s just to kind of help you find those pieces and stuff. But I think these are the super combos you really want to go for this. If you want to add, there's also like a Frieza's Army green one that just draws you cards. If you want more card advantage, you can do that. But I feel like these were just too valuable to give up. And then lastly, spoilers. So we are running 4 Dormants. Once again, max out as many of these as you can. I'd say, 3 or 4 is really what you want. If you only have 3, you should run 3, but I can't really see doing much less than that. It's too good of a card to just give you another turn, and you just generate so much advantage by another turn. You get so many card draw, you have so much ability to just make your opponent discard cards, and that's like just buying an extra turn for that is good. It also discards a card when you activate Dorm Potential. So if you have Dodoria out, you can in your hand, you can just discard Dodoria and play it for free too, which means you also draw a card if you have Pod out. So it's just good value, and it just helps you out a lot. And we all know Dormant's good. And then also 2 Cells Earth Destroying Kamehamehas. If you're missing out a Dormant or a Rebrand, you can definitely add one of these in as well. It's a great card. Just being able to go 15k and make your opponent drop a card from there is really, really good. And I think that's pretty much the deck. I really rambled on about it, but I think it has a lot of potential. It's a thinker deck for sure, having to go over all the cards that there's a lot of interactions. You've got to decide like how wide of like making your opponent discard you can go every turn, how much energy you need up for defense, and it's definitely I really like this deck. It's something that really jives with me, and I think it's the best the deck can be right now in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think about this deck. Let me know if you think it's viable. Definitely these I think these unisons are really what breathes some more life into this deck and some potential for it, especially with the pod variant, and these are just really good cards. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.